seem to have gathered a bit of a reputation for being quite rational. Uh, I am anyway. And after the recent attacks with the Christmas market, I would advise people to be careful about what they say. Not because I'm trying to go with the censorship, not at all. But it's easy to run off at the mouth for the wrong reasons. And what we've got to remember is, whatever we say or do on this side of the fence, member of the public, it's not going to change anything. But I think one thing we are allowed to say about this, we obviously don't need to discuss the background of the attacker because there's all sorts of stuff being floated about, and we don't need to really put out that we're sorry for the people that have been injured. That's obvious because just being a human being, you'd be sorry for the people that got injured or killed. That's just natural. We're sick of it, we all know that. But I'm sure we're allowed to say that we're sick of the platitudes, empty platitudes from MPs and politicians and political commentators and news anchors and all the people that say very nice things. I call them the candles and flowers brigade. You know, the candles are there and praying hands and all the rest of it. That's quite natural to feel sadness, isn't it? And what we've got to do, we've got to look after ourselves here. We've got to leave the authority figures to be as useless and helpless as they normally are, because from what I can see, they seem to spend more money and time addressing the reaction to these attacks than they do to the actual problem that's causing the attacks. And that's the bit that's missing in society today. The bit that, hang on a minute, we've got to stop this somehow. Because people who do these things, well, for a start, they're not afraid of death, are they? And that's always a drawback. And basically they know that authority figures right across Europe are a soft touch. The essence of this is nobody wants to admit they've got it wrong. Nobody wants to admit that we've allowed society to be broken down and people live amongst us who don't appreciate what we've put on offer. Well, I sit here today as a member of society and I've been proud of the way my country has behaved. Not the politicians, but the people in it. Because I've lived next door to foreigners from being a little girl. Because we lived in a Lancashire mill town where there was an influx of people from Pakistan to work in the mills. Why were they working in the mills? Because we killed all our men, because they'd had a war again. Because we'd gone and fought for our country. And these people, they got no assistance to integrate. Nobody showed them what to do. They just literally turned up, moved in a house, and there they were, and they went to work. And our next door neighbour, he spoke English, but she didn't. My mum taught her English, and she made my mother a curry. She would never have toilet for a week. We never ate anything stronger than tinned tomatoes in our house. We weren't very adventurous, but people weren't in the 60s, were they? People just did the shopping every day. It always tickles me when people go on about being green and sustainable. My mother walked to the shops because we bought our stuff from local suppliers. You know, the greengrocer was the greengrocer, and the grocery shop had tin food and a frozen counter. I mean, that was like quite unique. There was a haberdashery, a butcher, a post office, a chemist, a fish and chip shop, essential, and a newsagent's, all along this one street. And my mother would go out every day in a headscarf, and she'd get a carrier bag which was made of brown paper with string handles and carry it home, and that was our food for the day. We didn't have a fridge, so you didn't buy stuff to last 3 and 4 days in a fridge. You went out and got it. If you knew what day you were having meat or fish, and it was always cheap cuts. Mince always had plenty of fat in it. And I've got to say, when it was boiling up in a pan with the onions and just a bit of salt and pepper, nothing fancy, it smelled a lot more delicious than the lean mince that I'm buying these days with 4% fat. Because that always tickles me. Back in our generation, you know, with an outside toilet with a paraffin lamp so that pipes didn't freeze, you'd hold on for a pee, wouldn't you, for as long as you could, then you didn't have to go down bottom at yard. You know, this sustainability, they talk about it like it's new and innovative. We didn't have many man-made clothes. You know, if you wanted to wear something warm, it was made from wool, not polyester. That just started coming in. So it always amazes me when they talk about the boomers. I'm slightly a bit too young to be a boomer. That we don't know what we're doing. We were living like that anyway. We weren't travelling around to go to work or school on public transport. Our terraced house, the street that we were on, we and another family had a car in the upper half of the street, and there was another car down the bottom half of the street. We were looked at like millionaires. But my dad had a little haulage business. It were naff, but it meant we could afford a car. But we didn't travel anywhere. We went out for a run at weekend, you know, to country roads through to Blackpool, take a packed lunch and a flask, bloody primer stove. My dad there pumping away, biscuit tin, waiting for a tin of, a packet soup, that bachelor soup with rock hard peas. They never cooked them bloody things, did they? So they go on about this and integration, and the way that couple who moved in next door to us, we'd have a bit of a do with him after I played knick-knack on his door and he chased me with a machete. That were a bit worrying, and my dad had a word with him like, you're not supposed to do that. But we just got on with life. We weren't mollycoddled and nannied and told what to do. We just got on with our life. And I believe that our generation had more sustainable ethics than a lot of these younger ones think they've got now. We didn't use a fridge, did we? So there's no fridge running all the time, certainly no freezer. We went to bed early because we've nothing to watch on telly. We only have 3 channels. I mean, come on. We were the sustainable generation. We worked locally. Cotton was produced in Lancashire and wool was produced in Yorkshire. And now we're buying it all in from all over the world. My uncle, he worked at the technical college. He was a bit of a bright spark, and my auntie married well. My grandma was always very thrilled with Alice. Oh, Alice has married well. Our Joe's right clever, you know they get. And he went to teach at the technical college, and then he went to Peru. They put him on secondment to go to Peru. Can't remember who he worked for. I think it could be somewhere like Cortals. And they lived in Peru for about 3 years, and he was teaching the Peruvians how to manufacture cotton. He was educating them. And then the cotton industry lost a lot of, that is how crackpot we are. It's not the working men and women of the country. We were all right. It's the governments and their ideas that they get. I know I'm going off on one, I've digressed, but all I was saying is, I'm going to say something now, because I have a friend who just sent me a WhatsApp, and she's Indian. Her dad's English, her mum's Indian. She's gorgeous looking, and she's my age, and she went, oh no, here we go. Every brown face, I'll be looked at like a suspect. We'll all be hated. We haven't got to do that, have we? Come on, we're better than that. And the thing that lets us down every time on every single issue we face, including these terror attacks, is the government and their attitude to it. Because they come out with the platitudes, we think our thoughts are with our prayers are with the families and all that. Why doesn't somebody just stand there in an ordinary voice and look at the camera, because he's talking to the public, and say, we understand how you're all feeling, that you're sick of living with this, we're sick of it too. We're trying our best to do something about it. We can only put barriers in place, and or why don't they come up with another set of rules that would sort it out? But they don't, and that's why people get angry. They're not angry with a full nation of people or all the people that live in this country from that particular origin. They're not angry at that. They're angry at the politicians who openly ignore our fear. That's where it goes wrong. Nobody stands there. Why can't a politician, why can't a leader stand there and say, before it kicks off and you all start, we know how you're feeling. You're feeling betrayed and you're feeling afraid. Is it going to be the Christmas market you go to? Well, we're hoping to stop that. And then come up with some legislation that stops characters like this from integrating into society. That's all we're looking for. Nothing spectacular. Anyway, it's a bit of a serious day today, isn't it, with that kicking off. And but I'm glad to see the people who are going to the Christmas markets in Great Britain are still going to the Christmas markets. You won't dampen our spirit. We're not like that. We'll get on with what we want to do. We'll live our lives. It's these people that have come amongst us. We haven't gone amongst them to try and upset their day-to-day routines and things that they like. You know, we still believe in baby Jesus. And we want to have Christmas markets, and we want to have nativities, and we want to have carol concerts, and that's what we do. And suck it up if you don't like it.